We are so glad that you are joining us again for another edition of Hope Rocks Recovery. This program was born out of necessity, really, because of the things and the events that took place in 2020, which did not allow us for face-to-face, person-to-person contact. So Hope Rocks Recovery is an extension where we really are blessed and fortunate to bring in people from all over the country to talk about their recovery journey, their self-discovery journey, and their ability to really demonstrate hope in their everyday lives. And this night we have another just inspiring guest, and she was one of the original guests that we had way back in April or May, and we're excited to bring her back. And we're bringing her back with the purpose that, 2021 gives us a whole new opportunity, a whole new chance. We're like reborn, and human beings need that. And so we have Doc Golden with us today, and Doc is going to talk a little bit about how we can set habits, how we can redirect ourselves, how we can create goals for ourselves and hold ourselves accountable to the new person that we would like to be. So, Doc, welcome. Good to have you here.
Thank you so much. It is an absolute joy to be with you again tonight.
It is. I am so glad you agreed to come back on. We had a tremendous discussion about a very, very powerful and difficult topic last time called forgiveness, and the importance of forgiveness in recovery, in self-discovery, but also the importance of forgiveness in healing. And we're in a time now where there's a lot of talk about healing and unity, where those concepts of forgiveness really need to be in place. So thank you for joining us again. But now we're talking about 2021. And we all know about New Year's resolutions, and we know about setting new goals and purposes for ourselves. But this is something that you can bring a real powerful and unique perspective to, because this is what you do. You help people to become marathoners and runners and to endure a physical level of discomfort, for lack of a better term, in order to discover something new about themselves. So tell us a little bit, why should we, what's so important about goal setting?
I love talking about goals, and I think there are some people who shy away when you start to talk about goals, but goals are so exciting and always a constant part of my life. I think that goals should always be in anyone's life at any given time, not just January, not just once a year, but constantly, because if you have goals, you have a vision and you're moving in some sort of direction. If you don't have goals and you don't really know what you want or where you're going, it's really hard to make progress, and I think we all want to be making progress. We all want to be moving forward with something. And the way that I look at it is you're not going anywhere if you don't have some goals.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's a great analogy. You can't, how can you get to a destination if you don't have a goal? If before the time of GPS, how would you be able to drive or to ride or to run to a place you'd never been to without a roadmap? So exactly. I love the way you bring that together.
Yeah. If you don't know what you want, you certainly can't get it, or be there. For me, I've thought, because so many people seem to struggle with sticking to or accomplishing their goals, I have really thought hard for myself and for my community, like, what are ways that can help you achieve your goals, so that goals are something that you're excited about and not something that you're nervous of or you already like have this negative feeling in your mind about, okay, well, I guess I'll, try this, but something that, if you know things that are going to help you achieve those goals, you're more likely to set them and to set them high and have people be a part of them with you.
No doubt. The thing about goals, and I think it's an obstacle, is that we want a couple things. First of all, we set a goal that we want change immediately, and we set a goal that is so difficult or so high to reach that it becomes unattainable. What are your thoughts on those two ideas?
I think that it's important to dream big and to set your goal somewhat high, but do also be somewhat realistic with yourself. And the reality is, if you set a goal somewhere that, it's attainable in your mind, even if you can go beyond that, once you accomplish that goal, you can go even further and set a new goal and accomplish a new goal and just smash goals continuously moving forward. If you set a goal too high that you have a hard time sticking with it, even just in a couple of days, you're going to get discouraged, and it's going to be much harder to get back on track and move forward if it's just so hard that you're not able to like check some things off and make some progress.
When we talk about goals, what are some areas that we can do goal setting with? For example, we think about athletics, we think about school. As a teacher, we set goals in school, but I would imagine it's pretty broad.
It is. And I'm really glad that you mentioned that also, because a lot of times people think of goals in just a couple of areas, like just physical goals, or just like educational goals. Like, I want to graduate from college, period. That's it. You know what I mean? But really, you can have financial goals, you can have emotional goals, spiritual goals. Some of my goals lately have revolved around time. As an athlete and as a coach, I've got 100 athletic goals, and that's great. But there's other areas in my life that need to be developed, in all of our lives that need to be developed. And being mindful of how I'm managing my time and my energy will produce fruit in other areas of my life as well.
I would imagine that, Hope Rocks is about addiction. It's about recovery. It's about mental wellness. I would imagine, how we use our time, what we're using our time on, could also be a goal that is something that we look at. What do you think of that?
Yeah, certainly. I think that's critical, because sometimes people just kind of glide through their day or glide through their week with just like the major things that need to be checked off. But one of the things that I find is critical in achieving any goal is being extremely proactive, so that when you go into your week, you have a plan on how your time and your energy are going to be used. And that, again, like that trickles into every area. And like one of mine recently is no phone after 10 p.m. Not to check a message, not to check the weather, not to hear a song, not to hear an email. Like, the phone goes dark, no social media, just everything dark after 10 p.m. so that I have time for my mind and my spirit and my, everything to just kind of calm down before I go to bed, and I don't even stay up late that much in general, because as an athlete, it's so critical to get proper sleep. But I do find myself, if I'm going to be up even till 10:30 or 11, to shut that off earlier gives myself that time to wind down, to reflect on the day, to think about the next day, to organize my thoughts. to take a few good deep breaths, you know what I mean? And same also in the morning, not to, as soon as I wake up, flip the phone over, who texted me last night, what emails came in, but to have like some time locks, like, okay, and for everyone, it's going to be different, but let's say don't look at my phone until 8 a.m. or, you know, whatever you're able to do, just so that you're not thrust into the raging river of life and everything that's going on, but you have some time, excuse me, to think about your day, to think about what you're going to do, like whatever your goal is, in whatever area, what you're going to do that day to move forward towards that goal.
Right. We're talking with Doc Golden from New York City. She's a graduate of NYU in 2014. She is she's remarkable in many ways, but one of which is that she is she's in the field of self-discovery. She's a marathoner. She is an athletic trainer. She's involved in so many different things, but it seems like she rejoices or is not intimidated by the next challenge. And we're talking to her about goal setting, accountability, and habits. Doc, you've got goals. How important is it to set accountability markers in order to achieve those goals?
It's critical. It's just absolutely critical. I'd call it a non-negotiable. You know, one of the things when I have a goal, you come up with it in your mind, and then the first thing I do is write it down. And I often speak about it with other friends or family members or teammates, but that transfer from in my brain to on paper to out of my mouth into a dialogue with someone else. You know, I read a statistic once that said that if you write down a goal and speak about it with someone, you are 60% more likely to achieve that goal. And that's, so you get so much closer to reaching your goal just simply by having a conversation. And you haven't been stressed out. You don't have to do any work. You didn't pay any money. It's just having that conversation. And going back to that time goal I mentioned, I told all my siblings, like when I said I'm not using my phone after 10, I said, hey guys, I'm not using my phone after 10. You know, this is my new thing. And now I've said it out loud, and now they can also hold me accountable. First of all, they don't expect me to, respond to messages or anything like that after 10. But also, I know that they know. So if they, see me send a text message after 10 at 10:30 or something like that, or they see me make a comment on social media, I know that they can come back and say, hey, I thought you weren't using your phone past 10, and knowing that I want to be a woman of my word, I'm going to be very careful about that. And I have, and there have been times where I'm like, oh, it's 10:14. I'm like, no. I don't want anyone coming back saying, you said you were doing this and you're not. And I don't just tell one person, like in athletics, I tell several different people. I tell other athletes, I tell other coaches, I put it out on social media, the different things that I'm working towards as my goals, so that it is common knowledge. And I know that everyone who knows can hold me accountable and also encourage me and help me along the way. And I think people don't realize how much other people are willing to help them or be a part of their journey. People want to be a part of your journey. People want to celebrate with you. People want to see you succeed
Absolutely.
in whatever areas of your life that you're trying to grow. Like, we're humans and we like celebrating each other's success.
Absolutely. You hit on a concept that is one in which I think we need to do more of as a society, this idea of setting a contract with yourself. this idea of making a vow, but you don't do it just between yourself and your own being. You put it out there. You say, I'm going to do something, and you say it publicly. The beauty of what we do at Hope Rocks is when we have people in long-term recovery or individuals who are on the road to mental wellness, when we hear them speak, the idea that they're getting up in front of strangers and speaking about the habit that they've changed, they're speaking about being accountable, they're speaking about pursuing this goal of living a new kind of life, like you say, it anchors them. It really holds them to this, for better word, contract. And it is so powerful. Yeah. It is such a powerful thing. And the question I have is, how hard is it? How long does it take to develop the ability to say, I'm going to do something, set the accountability, and then follow through on it? Because I would imagine that's a habit that needs to be developed as well, because we can say we're going to do it, we set up our plan to do it, and yet we still fail. So that must be a habit building thing in and of itself.
You know, it's interesting that you say that, because I think a lot of people don't realize how much control they have in certain areas. You know, in this past year, there were so many things that we were not in control of. We weren't in control of the economy. We weren't in control of health. We weren't in control if we were going to have our jobs. We weren't in control of our schedule. Like, there was so much that we were not in control of, but we are in control of and responsible for our decisions and our actions and our responses, you know. And you say, well, that could be a long process. It can. If you want to think about something for a week and then write it down a week later and think about it some more and think about, well, who am I going to share this with? It can take a month. It can take longer, but it doesn't have to. It can take minutes. And I've had the joy of speaking with students, you know, all over New York City and New Jersey, and recently even virtually in Argentina, and talking to them about goals. And they've never seen me before, like most of the people who are listening right now. And I didn't know them, and I'm not a regular part of their lives, but I came on and I said, listen, this is something I want you to do. Think of 3 goals that you have for yourself. And I've done this in many classrooms. They can be small, short-term goals. I would like to be able to finish this book by the end of the week. I would like to do 5 push-ups just to start something. Or they can be long-term goals. You know, with some of my students, it's I want to graduate from high school, or I want to graduate from college, you know. So once you think of your goals, I say immediately write them down. Find a piece of paper, go on your phone, go to the notepad of your phone and just write 3 new goals. You put the date, and then you just put your things, and then immediately tell someone, you know. Just pick anyone who you think might relate or support you, and just pick one person to immediately get that out there. Send a text message and say, hey, I'm doing this and I want somebody to know. Let's talk about it sometime. So just get that initial text message out there, and then you can have a conversation later. You know what I mean? Like, it's good to have those conversations. And I know, like, with friends or with family members, sometimes it's like they want to quit smoking. As I call, or they text me and come and say, hey, look, I want to quit smoking, and I need you to know, because I want you to, like, check on me. And we all need to be checked on.
Absolutely.
But once you tell somebody, it's out there. And don't be shy. Like, you should be excited to tell somebody about goals that you have. And you know what's also beautiful is that when people hear goals that you have, whether it's to make X amount of money, or to start a business, or to write a book, or to graduate from a program, you know what I mean? Or to be sober to be sober, period. That when you share your goals, it also causes someone else to create their own goals, whether in the same exact area or in a different area. And they don't have to be the same goals as you. Like, I have friends whose goals are to read a whole book every week of the year, which I'm an Ironman athlete, and I have swim, biked, and ran over 140 miles in a day. But the idea of reading a book every week for a year, that's too much for me. So, but when I heard her goal, I said, well, I want to set a goal to read 3 books in a year, or 1. And it's like, goal setting and achieving can be contagious. And then you have each other to check on for your different things. But it doesn't have to be a long process. Just do it.
What great advice. Where did you hear that? But I mean, as simple as it sounds, it is the truth. Just do it.
Yeah.
The accountability piece is very important. I talk to students, my 5th and 6th graders, about habits, good habits and bad habits, and the importance of setting habits. What have you learned about habits and forming habits and breaking habits? What, as you do these talks, and more importantly, your own habits, what you've learned about them, can you share a little bit about the power of habits? And go ahead.
Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because that is a critical piece in moving again towards any of your goals. But I was recently listening to a podcast, and there's an author, his name is James Clear. He wrote a book called Atomic Habits. Highly, highly, highly recommend it. And, one of the things that he was saying is your decisions set the trajectory of your life, but your habits determine how far you get on that trajectory. And I was like, wow, that's fascinating. And one of the things that he was saying is that you should set your habits to be something that is attainable within 2 minutes. It should be a simple thing. It's not the big picture, but it's the simple piece that you can do 95% of the time, no matter what. If there's good weather, if there's bad weather, if you feel good, if you don't feel good, if whatever happens, something that's small, like you mentioned, that you can do constantly. And I was like, that's brilliant. And again, not for it to be the big thing. Like, my goal for the week shouldn't necessarily be, I want to, or the habit rather shouldn't be, I want to make sure that I run 5 miles every day, every of the week. You know what I mean? Like, There's a lot of things that can hinder and interfere with that. But the habit should be to, get my shoes on and get my workout clothes ready, get my watch, and like get ready for the run. Because once, a lot of people have said it's not the actual run, or it's not the actual, whatever the goal is. I say run because I'm a runner.
Right.
But a lot of times the hardest part is just getting started. And like everyone's always like, oh, I'm going to go on a diet next week. I'm going to go on a diet next year. I'm going to go on a and it's just getting to that first day that's the hardest part. But once you can do that, you're on the track. And I literally know people who not only set their workout clothes, or prepare the night before, so that when I get up, I don't have an opportunity to be distracted, or for it to be too cold outside or anything. I open my eyes and there's my running shorts and my shirt and my shoes. I know multiple athletes who sleep in their workout clothes so that when they wake up, they're already dressed and they just have to put their shoes and socks on. So it's the tying of the shoes that's the real habit that you want to do.
So you mean to tell me that there are actually people out there in this world that have a hard time following through on a habit? They have to motivate themselves. They have to figure out a way to work around their distractions, for lack of a better term. I like that term because it applies. But that's fascinating because often we think, oh, it's easier for that other person. Oh, it's easier for that other person.
No, not at all.
So if let's say you work with runners, okay? This is what you do. You work with people that contact you and say, hey, I would like to run a 5K. I would like to run a marathon. And normally, I would imagine, they've no experience with either one of those. So you're in the process of developing habits. Tell me a little bit about taking somebody through the process of being a non-runner to running their first 5K.
Certainly. Excellent question. That's always like one of my greatest joys, because again, like if I can help someone get comfortable with that first 5K and help them enjoy that process and that experience, they may be a runner for the rest of their lives and not even need me. They just need a little bit of help getting started. But it's really, really important to start small. And even like with your goals, it's really good to have the bigger goals and to have smaller goals along the way that are going to encourage you in your journey. And so I usually start with something that's very, very comfortable. If you have no running experience whatsoever, go out and walk for 10 minutes a day, 3 times this week. Oh, easy peasy, no problem. Great. So you get through the first week, you've walked for 10 minutes multiple times a week. You feel good. You're checking off boxes. You're moving closer. Okay, let's start. You don't need to run a mile, but why don't you run for 5 minutes and walk for 2 minutes and repeat that twice? You know what I mean? So you're gradually getting into it. And also sharing it with people. Like I tell people when they're getting started, share your journey, let people know I signed up for a 5K in 4 months. And I went on my first run this week, post about it, text people about it. And you will get energy from their response also to what you're doing and seeing you move forward. But one of the main things is to start small and build. That's one of the keys.
That's excellent. So I see so many parallels between the work that you're doing and how it can apply to somebody who's having difficulty with staying positive, with changing their outlook on what the day is going to bring. We can go deeper, with trying to change a health habit, trying to rid themselves of a toxic relationship, a toxic habit, a toxic substance. It seems to me all of these methods and these things that you are bringing forth to us apply so perfectly to those applications as well.
Certain, absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned that. One of the other things I wanted to mention is to allow yourself grace and room for some slip ups. You are a human being. There are going to be some, hopefully not many, but there will be some distractions or obstacles that may take you a step back one day. But that doesn't mean it's over. You know, if you say, again, in the example of, a friend trying to quit smoking, and they go 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, a week, and they're thrilled and we're both celebrating, and something happens, they get stressed out and they smoke one cigarette. Hey, you're not ruined. You're not going to hell. It's not over. You smoked a cigarette, dust off, throw the pack away, and get back on track quickly. And same, so whatever it is, if it's you're running and you have these goals during the week or throughout the course of several weeks, and you only want to have 1 or 2 days off, but you accidentally, something comes up, someone in your family gets sick, you have a responsibility, a job crisis happens at work, and you fall off schedule for a day. Or you eat something that you're not supposed to. Don't give up when you slip up. Just dust off and keep moving forward, and just get back on track as fast as you can. And don't look back. Don't dwell on it. Don't talk about it. Keep going forward.
Just do it. Just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Doc, the idea that here you are a trainer, you are somebody who shares your knowledge and expertise to individuals, both young and old. You're an iron woman. You're an iron person. You know the challenge, and you've confronted the challenge, and you've met the challenge. Tell me about some of the things that you learned about yourself that helps you to help others.
It's a good question. Really, persistence and perseverance have helped me in my personal journey, and then also therefore help me to be able to help other people. And sometimes even in my journey, letting it not just be about me, my athletic success, my sobriety, my financial success is not just about me, but it affects my community. And there are some, challenges that I've had athletically that I've told myself, I don't have to do this, but I have committed to my teammates and to my family, to my coworkers, that I'm going to do this thing, and I want to stick with it. And when I also realized that it's not just getting a medal at the end of a race or a challenge to be like, haha, I did it, as much as other people realizing if she did it, I can do it also. And that's one of the things, even in my Ironman journey, that I'm not a fast athlete. I'm not super strong, but I persevered through the challenge of swimming, biking, and running 140.6 miles as a regular human being, and that other people can be like, oh yeah, I know Doc. She's a nice girl. But no one's like, oh, Doc the Olympian. It's just Doc the real girl. And then they're like, well, I can do those things too. And again, not just athletically, but in any area. Even when I lost my father, it was devastating. It was extremely painful. But I went to many people for help, for advice, for comfort. And I wanted to hear how they had gotten through. I literally went to friends and said, have you lost your father? And some said yes, and some said no. And the ones who said yes, I wanted to know how they got through it. And I knew that me getting through, like, I needed to get through for myself, but I also needed to get through that so that when someone comes to me later and says that they're completely devastated and rocked and don't know how they can breathe after losing a parent, that my experience can bring strength, can bring hope, can bring encouragement to them in my frailty and their frailty, but these things help the whole community.
We're talking with Doc Golden. She is an extraordinary person as an athlete, as a speaker, as an individual in general. She just touched on something about her dad passing away, and she spoke much more about her relationship with her father in a previous Hope Rocks recovery, which I invite you to take a look at our YouTube channel and find that, because you will certainly be certainly be changed after that experience, just like with today and her talking about habits and goals and so forth. Doc, I really would like to know about that time, whether it was in the water or on the bike or on the road, where you said, or you didn't say, where it came to you, I can't do this anymore, I can't go on, and what it was that motivated you to get through it. Because there had to be multiple times like that.
Yeah, really. So in the Ironman course, after you swim 2.4 miles, the bike ride is 112 miles before you start your 26.2 mile run. And there are time limits for everything. The greatest part of that for me, the greatest challenge is the bike ride. And it is also the longest. Because I'm not a very strong cyclist, I had extreme anxiety about making the time cutoffs. So remember, I'm riding for 112 miles. I've got a lot of time to think, too much time, in fact. And, I started off and I'm feeling pretty good. I had finished the swim. I'm going strong. But I had so much anxiety about the time cutoffs that I started thinking, what if I don't make this? Like, what if I don't make the cutoff? And if you don't make the cutoff, you can't go to the run and you're disqualified and your year of training is void. So there were many times that not only was I feeling almost like I can't make this, I have taken that word out of my vocabulary, so it's not so much that I ever said I can't as much as I'm not going to make it.
Right.
And I actually started crying tears when I thought about my coworkers who, before I left to travel to the race, had written me cards and told me, you're going to rock this, you're going to be amazing, you've got this, and my family and people had sent me videos and, so many just unbelievable support and encouragement. And, I was coaching 2 teams and I just felt like so many people were counting on me. And I was like, I don't even have to make this for myself, but I was like, everyone is believing in me. And for the sake of their faith, I was like, God, you have to help get me through this. And I literally pushed with all my might, with all my strength and energy. And over the course of the 112 miles, on 14 separate occasions, I broke down crying, being overwhelmed about the balance of what if I don't make it, and no, I am doing this because people are believing in me and people support me. And it was really that support that pushed me over the edge and kept me spinning my wheels, literally, to get to that finish line because of other people believed.
And that goes to what you had been speaking about earlier, about the idea of being accountable, putting it out there, telling other people, and not for the negative, but for the positive, so that they lift you when you need them. And so that's a great example.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because I knew that the bike portion was always going to be a challenge for me in an Ironman. And I even said to myself, at one point I was like, I'm not going to tell anyone that I'm doing this. I said, I'm just going to train for this for a year under the radar. And when I do it, then I will tell everyone and post pictures and be like, look what I did, and share the journey of the highs and lows. But I said, I'm not going to tell anyone until it's done, just in case I have the inclination to back out and I don't have to be ashamed of being a quitter.
Right.
But that would have opened the door for me to become a quitter after I had multiple bike accidents during the training season leading up to that. It would have been much easier to be like, my bike is broken, my body is bleeding, I don't want to do this anymore, and I deserve not to finish this. But because something in me said, I have to tell people I'm doing this in 9 months, that I did that, and it was much harder to quit along the way. It was impossible. It was absolutely impossible to quit once I had told other people that I was doing it, and once I had recruited other people to do it with me. There was no option to quit, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that is the value of community. That's the value of putting it out there. And life is, you know, we can sit in the couch in the comfort zone, or we can put ourselves on the high wire and really discover what we're capable of. And if we go out on that high wire, our safety net are those people who we said, we're going to do this. Yeah. And they step underneath and they lift you up when you're ready to fall. It's so fantastic story. Fantastic story. Ladies and gentlemen, we are with Doc Golden. She is a triathlete. She's a trainer. She is a motivational speaker. She is a spiritual healer. Do yourself a favor. Google her, check out some of the videos that she has out there. Truly things that will draw you to a new understanding, not only of Doc, but of yourself and your capabilities and who you're meant to be. And Doc, thank you so much for coming. Another wonderful discussion with you. Like we have spoken in the past, we are so glad that you see the value of what we're doing at Hope Rocks, because in you seeing that value, we can share you with the world, and we're so honored to have that ability. And again, thank you so much.
My absolute pleasure. If I can say just one more thing to
Absolutely.
kind of challenge the audience, is challenge yourself to do more than what you think you can. And I promise you, you will find out that you are more capable of things than you realize that you are. And the more you challenge yourself, the more you'll succeed, the more you'll grow, and the more that you can affect people around you. So I really encourage you to set some goals, start small, talk about them, write them down, and I want to hear about the things that you're accomplishing.
Outstanding. Hopefully they will write to you and let you know and connect with you. That would be great.
Yes.
So Doc, thank you so much for joining us on this edition of Hope Rocks Recovery. We look forward to seeing you in the future, and keep smiling, keep sharing hope, because that smile affects people in ways that you can never imagine. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you.